On today's quick question episode, we take on this question. Eric, what's the deal with the mini driver? Well, it's a good question. The mini driver seems to be the latest trend in equipment. So I say the mini driver is really bringing back an old, piece of equipment that was around before. It's not a brand new thing. But I think that the data that we're seeing from players, especially longer hitters, is sort of lending to the fact that driver, at times, we know the dispersion is too wide to hit on certain holes. And so then players are going, okay, if I can't hit driver because it won't fit in between some width that they like, a lot of times it's 50 or 60 yards between issues, out of bounds or lost balls or hazards or whatever. So what these longer players are doing, let's say I hit a club that carries 300 yards and I got this width and dispersion. I come onto a hole and it's shorter than that. The problem is if they go fairway wood, the fairway wood goes shorter, but it's actually not more accurate. And the problem with the fairway wood up the tee is that the head is so small, it tends to be unforgiving, much less forgiving, we'll say, than the driver. And so that dispersion kind of widens out. So it's not like it's going straighter, it's just going shorter. So those players instinctively have gone like to a utility club, like a utility 3-iron or 2-iron or 4-iron. And then they might be hitting that club 250 yards, maybe even a hybrid, to gain some, consistency in the dispersion. But they're giving up so much distance. So what is mini driver? Mini driver is essentially like combining the forgiveness of a driver, so the head is a little bit smaller than a driver, with the length of a shaft of a fairway wood, so you can hit it a little bit more in the middle of the face. And then you can, just hit a club that's a little shorter than the driver, but still have almost the same amount of forgiveness and accuracy. Now, the TaylorMade and Callaway mini drivers play like a driver. They're just a little bit smaller, and they play a lot like a driver. Face is hot, big head, and I don't really think most players are going to be able to hit those clubs off the fairway. Pretty much all of them are 13 degrees. Mine might be 12 and a half. Definitely an adjustable hosel on the Callaway and the Titleist, which is 13 degrees. So the Titleist GT Mini is really usable off the fairway. It's a slightly smaller head, but what I've seen, and this is the one that every single player that I've fit has gotten, the Titleist, is it's a shorter shaft. Obviously, the head is a little bit smaller and is absolutely usable off the fairway. So the players are giving up. This is what I'm seeing. If they were hitting 310 with their driver, they're hitting 280 with the mini driver, 275 with the mini driver. And that's really been helpful because they hit in a much tighter dispersion, maybe call it 40 yards width right to left, as opposed to maybe 60 or 70 or 80 with their driver at 300 carry plus. So that tends to be the player that uses mini driver. It tends to be a longer hitter looking for something a little more accurate, but doesn't want to go all the way down to like an iron off the tee and lose all that distance. So the Titleist is back ordered. I just ordered one yesterday. It's back ordered till July. So I think the demand for these clubs has been way higher than they anticipated. I think that the other person that could really use a mini driver might be someone that just doesn't feel comfortable hitting a driver with that big long shaft. So if I go down to something that's more like 5 wood length shaft with a nice forgiving head, like maybe the Callaway and the TaylorMade offer, that could be a club that might be just a little easier to swing essentially and hit the middle of the face. It was slightly more loft. That backspin of the ball really helps. And a lot of times make the ball fly straighter. It's not as aerodynamic for distance, but that little bit more backspin that the added loft puts on it will help the ball fly straighter and less offline. So if you're someone that either doesn't feel like they can hit a full-length driver solidly enough to use it, or you're one of those longer hitters that's going back to like a utility or a long iron and giving up tons of distance off the tee, mini driver could be for you. So test them out. We have all three. We don't have tons of shaft options at this point. I think it's kind of like they put them out there. It's interesting. They all kind of came out the same week, which was, I thought, very interesting. They all feel good. I've hit all of them. I have to say I'm impressed. But the Titleist definitely can be hit off the fairway. And that, in my opinion, gives a slight edge to that longer hitter And then the other two with the bigger heads might give the slight edge to the person looking for a club they can just hit a little bit more easily. So check it out. Mini drivers, get fit today by a certified club fitter. And thank you again for tuning into this quick question episode of the Golf Intervention Podcast.